Hey, what's up, everybody? Jason Dutch here with Voice from the Underground, the podcast where politics and pop culture collide. Just another quick little, just a quick little video here I wanted to bring out, uh, share my screen here with you guys. I'm gonna jump on here and I'm gonna get started here in just about 15 seconds. Just want to give people a chance to log in. We'll going to just give some quick thoughts on Lindsey Graham, as well as Donald Trump, and what we heard yesterday. So I've had a chance to kind of digest this and listen to a couple of different perspectives on it, and I just want to try to hash out where we're at on what's going on right now with the presidential race. So with that being said, again, this is Jason Dutch. Thanks for joining the show. If you are new to this channel, you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We definitely appreciate it. Also on Twitch, subscribe to the show on Twitch as well. Those are the two main platforms. If you're listening on Facebook, we would love it if you would support independent media and go over to YouTube or Facebook after this is over. I'm sorry, YouTube or Twitch after this is over, and subscribe if you like what you hear. It's youtube.com/voice from the underground media, or I know that's long, but youtube.com/voice from the underground media, or twitch.tv/VFU podcast. Okay, let's get rolling. If there's any comments that come in, which I'm sure there will be, I'll jump into those in a bit. So as far as Lindsey Graham, first and foremost, I'm going to pull up here real quick the Lindsey Graham comments that were made. I'm going to play those for you guys real quick. Here is those comments that he made on Capitol Hill, I believe right before or right after all of the crazy shit that happened yesterday and the day before yesterday, I should say. So here is the comments from Lindsey Graham.
If you're looking for a way to convince people there was no fraud, having a commission chosen by Nancy Pelosi, Mitch McConnell, and John Roberts is not going to get you to where you want to go. It ain't going to work. So it's not going to do any good. It's going to delay, and it gives credibility to a dark chapter of our history. That's why I'm not with you. But I will fight to my death for you. You're able to object. You're not doing anything wrong. Other people have objected. I just think it's a uniquely bad idea to delay this election. Trump and I, we've had a hell of a journey. I hate it to end this way. Oh my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today,
consequential.
First thing you'll see. All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough. I've tried to be helpful.
Have you?
But when the Wisconsin Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that they didn't violate the Constitution of Wisconsin, I agree with the 3, but I accept the 4. If Al Gore can accept 5-4, he's not president. I can accept Wisconsin 4-3. Pennsylvania, it went to the Second Circuit. So much for all the judges being in Trump's pocket. They said, no, you're wrong. I accept the Pennsylvania Second Circuit that Trump's lawsuit wasn't right. Georgia, they said the Secretary of State took the law in his own hands. He changed the election laws unlawfully. A federal judge said, no, I accept the federal judge even though I don't agree with it. Fraud. They said there's 66,000 people in Georgia under 18 voted. How many people believe that? I asked, give me 10. I hadn't had one. They said 8,000 felons in prison in Arizona voted. Give me 10. I hadn't gotten one. Does that say there's problems in every election? I don't buy this. Enough's enough. We got to end it. Vice President Pence, what they're asking you to do, you won't do because you can't. You talk about interesting times. I associate myself with Rand Paul. How many times will you hear that?
All right, jokester. So real quick. All right. Just a quick comment on that, and then I'll get to Trump's comments next. Here's the thing. Those are actually, I was shocked to hear those words come out of his mouth, because this is a guy who was super anti-Trump previous to 2016. Then all of a sudden became his biggest acolyte. And now he's distancing himself from Trump because Trump, surprise, surprise, no longer gives access to power. Here's another great example of that. Kelly Loeffler, who said in the morning, I will object to this election. Later that day, lost. I call her Android Ann Coulter. All right. Kelly Loeffler. She lost to Reverend Warnock, radical socialist, Raphael Warnock. And then guess what? The next day, when they confirmed, she did not contest, because guess what? She no longer had anything to hang her hat on. She no longer had any benefit from holding that line. So she said, I don't know if it was crazy, because I don't know if she did it out of spite or of disappointment or what, but she certainly said the day before that she was going to object to the Electoral College results in front of the Senate, and then she did not. Amazing shift within a day. Just goes to show you're dealing with a dishonest person who didn't belong in the Senate in the first place. Now, as far as Trump's concession goes, the thing with Trump's concession, and I'm going to hopefully, sorry if you guys can hear that that tapping right there, but I'm going to play the Trump concession now, because, well, actually, before I do that, I want to touch on the Lindsey Graham thing. So what he said there, I thought was kind of interesting, because he said, if Al Gore can accept 4-3, I can accept 4-3. Or if Al Gore can accept 5-4, I can accept 4-3. I think that's exactly the way that a lot of people who were anti-Trump looked at this election in 2016 after he lost. They said, now we weren't running around yelling fraud. There was some people who were, but nobody believed that there was widespread enough fraud. We believed that it was a movement within America that we didn't see coming, and it didn't make us happy. We didn't like what we were seeing with America. We weren't expecting that poll workers were changing votes. We talked about Russia because that was real. They actually did interfere with our election to help Trump. Whether or not Trump colluded with them was an issue that I believe there's a lot of evidence to show that Donald Trump probably, see, collusion is so hard to prove. The issue is were they warm towards it? And they were fucking boiling hot towards it. They thought it was the greatest thing ever. They didn't want to have anything to do with it because Jared Kushner was smart enough not to do that. But what we have seen is that they certainly tried to obstruct, because they knew that they had listened to this stuff. They knew that they had a finger in the pot. And while they never necessarily colluded, that's provable, they certainly, and collusion is very difficult to prove litigiously. They definitely knew what was going on and were happy with it and stoked those flames. And then, of course, the obstruction afterwards was just ridiculous. But we talked about gerrymandering. We talked about voter suppression. There were 4 million people who voted in the 2012 election for Barack Obama who did not vote in 2016, all due to voter suppression techniques from social media. Okay, mostly African Americans and suburban housewives. So those were the complaints. We weren't happy with who was in the White House. That's why you saw protests. We didn't see protests about people bringing up unsubstantiated stuff like Lindsey Graham just said and say, hey, I asked for 10, you gave me 0. So that is profound. Okay, now, as far as Trump's concession, let's get into that.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. 2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, damaged our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and rebuilding the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values of patriotism, faith, charity, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together.
Okay, so what do we have here? We have, sorry about that ring. So we have Donald Trump. I don't know that I would call this a concession. I think that what it is more is just an admission that he lost. However, the funny thing is that this is like, if dude acted like this all the time, if he just talked like that all the time, then he probably would have been reelected. Because you see two different Donald Trumps when you go to a MAGA rally or you read his Twitter account than you do in the rare instances like this. So sure, he's reading off of a teleprompter, but you know, we know that that's not necessarily how he feels. So there's only two plausible reads here. One, he saw what happened at the Capitol building, realized that his words have meaning and his words have consequence. And that when he saw it off of the TV set, right, because he had seen the protesters out there that he, you know, that he had the police come and get rid of, but he didn't want to have these protesters treated the same way that Black Lives Matter was. And the preparedness was ridiculous. So actually, let's talk about that for a quick second. The preparedness of the DC police for what happened at the MAGA rally was ridiculous. They didn't have any preparation. They just basically let people run rampant. There are pictures that I can show you of the Black Lives Matter rally that took place on Capitol Hill, where they had every other step was filled with federal law enforcement, the National Guard, etc., protecting that building from the crazy radical Antifa mob. And then you have the crazy right-wing militia mob come, and they're all astonished. They're astonished that they broke into the building, and because they didn't have enough police presence there to mitigate what they should have known was going to happen. And they admitted that they knew that this was going to happen. I've seen conservative news report, we can't believe that the DC police didn't call people into work that day. But then you have this other competing narrative that it wasn't actually MAGA people, it was Antifa. And you have pictures of people online saying that this guy's anti-government, this guy's known Antifa, et cetera, et cetera. None of that. I've looked into all of that. a couple of these people, it seems, are anti-government protesters who'd go to different protests, like the guy with the horns. That would be my assumption of him. Anti-government is not a left-right thing. A lot of Proud Boys are anti-government. A lot of them are anti-government, right? They like Trump, but they don't necessarily like the government. So an anarchist is not necessarily a leftist or a conservative. They're on both ends of the spectrum. There is anarchists. So it is possible that some of those people are people who do not like government and go to government protests because they want to do problems, right? To do terror and stuff like that. But the idea that these were the well-placed, smart Antifa people who decided to go in without any masks at all, when that's like the Antifa thing is to be wearing a mask right now, it's pretty crazy to me. You had guys who left their job at Navistar who left and got fired from work because they failed to take off their name badge. And then you have people saying, oh, but they're Antifa. No. Oh, the gear looks new. Didn't you see how new the gear looks? No, I didn't see that, because there was a spectrum of gear, some new, some very old. But Trump, again, circling back to his words, I would not necessarily characterize this as a concession. I would characterize this as an admission, which is different from a concession. A concession is saying that you were, whatever you were fighting for, you're giving it up. An admission just means, this happened and it is what it is. And of course, we know his words, it is what it is. So, but it's just crazy to me. And he never said the word concede. So, but now he's calling for a transition, a peaceful transition and healing and all of this stuff, where for 4 years he has been calling for the precise antithesis of those things. And when I bring that up, people will say that I'm crazy. On the right, they'll say, oh, it's the left who starts stuff. It's the left who's divisive. The right is just, we're law-abiding people. And that's why the police would never have thought that we would have broke into Capitol Hill, because we're so fucking law-abiding. We even clean up our trash when we're done, because we're patriots and we love America and we're hardworking people. So why would patriotic, hardworking Americans storm the Capitol building? Could never happen. So it must have been Antifa. That's fucking absurd. So, but again, if Trump had just acted like this, like he did in this speech, and in his speech from a couple days ago when he was speaking from the White House lawn, by the way, remember he said he would be out there with the protesters, and then got in his car and went back to the White House, went home, and then apparently rebelled in it for a while. And then said he immediately called the National Guard, which was false, because it was hours later before he called the National Guard. He was sitting there home watching it on the news, thinking, oh, look at these guys who love me. And then he realized what was happening. And maybe he said, oh, shit, I started this. I have to change my tune right now, because I don't want to be responsible for this. Maybe that happened. Or maybe they've just loaded his lips and said, you can't hurt the next Republican coming into office. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that was. But all I do know is that we did see a completely different character than the character who is on these MAGA rallies all the time. So, but let's see what happens. I mean, I certainly condone his speech. I certainly think that I agree with the premise of it, that we do need to try to come together as a country. However, I don't believe that the people on the right wing are necessarily going to be in for that. I just don't believe that that is actually a thing. I don't believe that that is going to be true. I don't believe that they're actually going to be down for that. I can't see one narrative on Parler the day before and people asking for Pence's head, and then the next day expect that everybody's going to fall in line and be peaceful and say, okay, we're going to accept Joe Biden as president. Oh, but because you never accepted Trump. No, we accepted him as Trump. We just weren't happy about it. There's a big difference. Oh, you're trying to undo the election. No, we weren't trying to undo the election. We were looking at actual facts and actual things that happened and taking legal action or investigative action based on the particular events that actually took place that we knew about, and investigating those events like Ukraine and Russia and Charlottesville, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This actually, Biden has done nothing. Nothing. And they're actually trying to overturn an election, just like all the recall Gavin Newsom stuff, actually trying to overcome an election while pointing at us and saying, oh, you're trying to overturn an election. It's fucking hypocrisy 101. And it's astonishing. So I don't have any faith whatsoever that this is going to stop. I think that we're going to see more violence. I think that we're going to see more craziness, especially we might see hopefully a lull for a week or two here. But on Inauguration Day, I pray to God that nothing bad happens. I do not expect Trump to be there. And I think that if Trump is not there, that's going to open the door for more problems, because that increases the propensity for people who may be terrorist minded on the right to do something if their fearless dictator is not there. If Trump is there, maybe they won't do anything because they don't want to hurt Trump. Or maybe they're mad at Trump because Trump, just gave up or seems to have given up. But he said he's going to keep fighting. But, so anyway, we'll have to see what happens. We'll see you guys again on Sunday for the live stream. But thank you for tuning into the show. Appreciate everybody. Again, if you would like to subscribe to Voice from the Underground on YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you would do that. You can go to youtube.com/Voice from the Underground Media. And then there's our website right there, vfupodcast.ulasite.com. We are talking about possibly changing the name of the podcast very shortly. Voice from the Underground will still be around, but it might just be like the name of the overall media company. And we might have a couple of different podcasts with different names. So if you see changes there coming up, we'll explain those as they happen in the next 30 days. But if you go to that website right there, that's going to remain that website. Or something close to it. So you can get all of our links there to YouTube, Twitch, everything like that. So thanks for listening. Thank you for supporting independent media. We love you guys. If you'd like to directly contribute, there's the Patreon right there. Patreon.com/VFU podcast. Take care.